So welcome again, and this is the seventh class that we are having together on Kena Upanishad. When we met 2 weeks ago, we were into the discussion of verse 3 of the text. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, na manaha. The eyes don't go there, words don't go there, and even the mind does not go there. Na vidma, na vijanima, yathaitad anushishyat. We don't know any other way of teaching about this reality. Iti shusruma purvesham ye nastad vyacha shakshire. This is how our teachers instructed us. So when I stopped in our last class, I was speaking about, and we were discussing this important line in the third verse. Anya deva tad viditad atho aviditad adhi. Iti shushruma purvesham ye nastad vyachachakshire. So how did the ancient gurus, the ancient teachers, those who lived in the lineage of teachers and students, how did they speak about that reality? And so in the Kena Upanishad, the teacher says, this is what my teacher said to me. This is how I learned the nature of Atma. Anya deva tad viditad atho aviditad adhi. He told us that this reality is different from the known and the unknown. So we have to ponder this important statement. Vidita, meaning the known, avidita, meaning the unknown. Vidita and avidita. So anyat eva tad viditat. It is different from the known. Anyat means different from the known. This is something that we have discussed, and I think we can understand this. Atma is different from the known because all things known are objects of the senses and the mind. All things known are known as objects, either of the senses, the five senses, or objects of the mind. I can see with my five senses. I can also know with my mind. So thoughts are like internal objects, and forms, colors, etc. are external objects. Atma is the knower. Everything is known. Atma is the knower. We have spoken about Atma as the light, awareness that makes all things, makes all objects, mental objects and physical objects known. All objects exist in space and time. All objects are drishya, as we will say. Atma is adrishya, the unseen light because of which all is known. So in that sense, we speak of Atma, you, I, as anyat eva tad viditat, that which is different from all objects that we experience. Later on, before we conclude this text, I just want to signal this. I will come back and speak about the difference between Atma as knower and objects that are known. But for now, at this stage in the teaching, because there is a methodology on this teaching, the text is saying that it is different from that which is, from all things that are known, it is the knower. It is the light because of which we know. So when we say that it is not known in the sense of Atman is not an object, it is different from all things that are known, immediately, if you are a student, then you say, okay, so if Atman is different from that which is known, it must be unknown. Aviditat. If it is not known, in other words, things are either known or unknown. If it is known, it is not unknown. If it is unknown, it is not known. That's how language operates. That's how learning generally takes place. If I say, this is a tall tree, it means it is not a short tree. It can either be tall or it can be short. It can't be both. If I say he's near, he's sitting near to me, it means he's not or she's not far away. If I say she's inside the house, then you understand that she's not outside the house. If I say the vehicle is not moving, then you understand that the vehicle is unmoving. It is still. So language operates in this dualistic way, either or. So if it is Atman is different from the unknown, then the student will immediately think, the teacher anticipates this, the student will immediately think then, okay, so this Atman is something that is unknown. Because this language seems to offer us only one or the other possibility. If it is not one, it is the other. But the teacher anticipates this and he says, Ataha aviditat adhi. But moreover, it is also different from the unknown. Aviditat adhi. Other than the unknown, it is different from the known, but it is also different from the unknown. What a beautiful teaching, what a beautiful sentence. Now, so if it is unknown, does it mean it is non-existent? Of course. So if something is not known, maybe we could think, well, it is simply non-existent, because if it is existent, it should be known. If it is different from what we know, therefore it means maybe it is non-existent. That's one way. That's one problem the student can have. And there are other ways in which, we have to be careful when we say Atman is different from that which is unknown, aviditat. Because there are some things that are currently unknown, but later they can become known. Right? But when they are known, they also become objects of knowledge. Like, now we have successfully sent a probe to Mars. So we never knew, so well what the surface of Mars looked like. Now we are getting pictures, very beautiful pictures of the surface of the planet Mars. So Mars was unknown, at least visually. Now Mars has become known. The unknown becomes known, but still, Mars is an object. It is known. It was unknown, it has become known, but now it is known as an object. So we should not understand Atman in that sense, that, it's currently unknown, but it will become known at some point in time, like the surface of Mars. Or, it is sometimes there are things in our minds, experiences in the mind that we don't have now, but later we might have. So, most of us have never gone skydiving. So if I ask you, how does it feel when you go skydiving? You'll say, I don't know. I don't know how it feels because I never tried it. And then you try it. You take a plunge from the skies. And then I ask you what it is. How did the skydive feel? And you say, at first I was full of fear to jump. But when I jumped, it was beautiful. I felt like a bird. I was flying. So you have now an experience in the mind that you didn't have before, but now you have an experience in the mind. Atman is not like that. Atman is not a condition of the mind that comes and goes, that was absent and now becomes present. It is not like that, because such states of the mind are, as we say, they are transient. So I didn't know what it felt like to skydive. So at that time, that experience didn't exist. And the corresponding emotion of the experience didn't exist also. Now I jumped from the aircraft and the experience is born in my mind. So it was not there, now it is there. And sometime I'll forget about it. Also, it will cease to come. So Atman is not a condition of the mind that is subject to time, that comes and goes. It is not a condition of the mind from which we are separate by time. You know, you can think of so many examples. If you've never been to Iceland, Iceland remains unknown by the fact that there's a gap of space and time. You have to bridge this distance sometime in the future, and then you will know what Iceland looks like. But this Atma that we are speaking about is not separate from us by time, by kala or time. It is not separate from us by space or desha. It is always present. It is present in all states of experience. When I'm awake, it is. When I dream, it is. When I sleep, it is. It doesn't go to sleep. I am never away from it. I am never apart from it. I am never spatially separate from it. The most important reason for the guru, the teacher in Kena Upanishad, describing Atma as different from the known, vidita, and different from the unknown, avidita, is this. And as I speak, you should see the truth of these words. At this very moment itself, in Sravana, in listening, you should see the truth of these words. The most important reason for describing it as different from the known and the unknown is the immediate recognition here and now of Atma as awareness that illumines, reveals both knowledge and ignorance in the mind. Atman is that which illumines both the state of knowledge in the mind as well as the state of ignorance. In other words, I am aware of that which I know, the known. I am aware of that which I do not know, the unknown. I know what I know, and I know what I do not know. Think of this example. If you open your eyes, if I open my eyes and my eyes are functioning well, I will see the forms before me. Whatever is in the room in which I am sitting, I see the forms. And I am aware of those forms. Right? Those are the known. I'm aware of those things that I know with my eyes open. If I shut my eyes, then the forms disappear. The forms disappear, but I don't disappear. I am aware that I am no longer seeing. I am when I see the known. I am when I don't see. A condition of unknowing, a condition of ignorance. So if my eyes are open, I see, and because of Atma awareness, I know that I see. If I close my eyes, I don't see, and I know that I don't see. And both states, the state of knowledge and the state of ignorance, I know because of the light of Atma, light of awareness. So Atma illumines both conditions in mind, knowledge and ignorance, vidya and avidya, what I know and I don't know. Both of these are conditions of the mind. Atman is different from these in the sense that it makes known both conditions. Atman is always awareness, always light, the light that shines and makes all conditions of the mind known. So this, in this sense, if I understand this, I immediately come to, without, and I will clarify this, without objectifying, I can come to appreciate myself, not something else. I can come to appreciate myself as the awareness because of which both knowledge and ignorance are known here at this very moment itself. Or think of it in this way. Atman as awareness reveals, I'm using different words to make sure that I communicate. Well, Atman as awareness reveals, illumines, make known both knowledge and ignorance. Knowledge in my mind requires some light for me to see it. You know, if I ask you, as I've said before, if I ask you what you are thinking, right, you need some light source within to reveal to you the thoughts on your mind. And then you will say, I'm trying to understand what you are saying. I'm thinking about Atman as different from the known and the unknown. And if at the same time I ask you a question and you don't know the answer, you'll tell me, I don't know the answer. I'm ignorant. In other words, I see the condition of ignorance in my mind. So whether it's knowledge, whether it's ignorance, we need some source of light to make these conditions known. And what is that source of light? Atma. Atma is not, in fact, it is even inaccurate to say it's the source of light. Atma is the light that makes these conditions of the mind known. So these need something to reveal them. They don't make themselves known. They need the light of awareness to be known. But this light that is Atma and awareness does not need anything to make it known. It doesn't need anything to make it known. It doesn't need anything to prove that it exists. So in Sanskrit, we have many words for light. You know, we have the word Jyoti, and we have the word Prakash, Prakasham for light also. So when we use the metaphor of light for Atma, we always say, we put a word before it, we put a prefix before it, and we say Atma is Swayam Prakasha. Swayam Prakasha, Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Prakasha, Swayam Jyoti means it shines of itself. It doesn't need any other light to make it known. It makes itself known because it is light. It is Swayam Prakasha. Swayam means it is its own light or self-revealing. It is self-revealing. How do we know? If I asked you again, how do you know that this morning you exist? How do you know that you are listening to me? How do you know that you are? And the answer is very simple. Because you are aware. Because you are aware. You don't have to, if you have to think about it, you can only think about it because you're already aware. You said, okay, let me think about your question. How do I know that I exist? Well, you have to be existing even to take the step of thinking about it. And that's what we mean by Swayam Prakasha. It is self-revealing. It doesn't need, there's no other awareness to make awareness known. There's no other Atma to make Atma known. Atma is. It is I, Aham. Swayam Prakasha Aham, Atma. Which is present, as we will see, in all periods of time. When I'm awake, it is. When I dream, it is. When I sleep, it is. Now, how do we know? How do we gain knowledge? Now we are trying to, this whole purpose of this teaching is so that we can know ourselves. We can gain knowledge of ourselves, of who we are. What is the truth of us? What is the truth of human nature? But we are saying also that this Atma is never an object. It cannot be known as an object. It is not an object of the senses. It is not an object of the mind. So we can never know it as an object because it is the knower itself. It is the knower of all objects, of all thoughts. And so in the Kena Upanishad, there is a very important line the Guru used there. And the Guru says, so, Manasa eva, Manasa is the mind, eva, alone, indeed. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. That this also still has to be known through the mind. And now we are saying also, but it is never an object. It is not a thought in the mind, not an object in the mind. So how can we gain knowledge of the Atman? Through the mind. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. It has to be known with the aid of the mind. There is no knowledge, in fact, apart from the mind. And this knowledge also occurs in the mind. How does it occur? So let me give you an example. Until, let us say, I know we have water sources and lakes and rivers and so on, but just set that aside for a moment. If I want to know what I look like, okay, I can never objectify my face. I can't see my face with my own eyes. I cannot see, or I can't even see my eyes with my own eyes. I need some reflecting surface. So if I want to know what I look like, I go and I stand before a mirror. And in that mirror, I don't really objectify myself, right? But with the aid of the mirror, I can know what I look like. If I want to know what I look like physically, I stand before a mirror and I can know what I look like. So mirror is needed. And that mirror must be very clean. It must not give me a distorted picture, right? So it must be free of dust. There are some mirrors when you look into it, it distorts your face and adds all kinds of qualities that you don't possess. No, we need a simple, pure, clean mirror so that when you stand before it, it shows you just as you are. You look there and you say, aha, this is what I look like. I never knew I looked like this. This is what I am. This is what I look like. This is the color of my eyes. This is the shape of my nose, my ears, my lips. I see a perfect, accurate picture of who I am. So now from the example to Atman. How do I know myself without objectifying? This teaching in the mind now, the mind is also the instrument. But the mind that is like the mirror, the mind that is purified, the mind that is steady, the mind that is calm, the mind that is clear. And last week, Prasanna Kumar, Professor Prasanna Kumar had mentioned, the discussion we had some time ago, and he used the expression sadhana chatushtaya, the fourfold means, viveka, discrimination between real and unreal, vairagya, detachment, control of the mind, control of the senses, etc. Certain practices, a series of practices called sadhana chatushtaya, which are meant for purifying the mind, manasa shuddhi, purifying the mind, stilling, quietening the mind. And this quiet mind is the mind that is now capable of understanding the teaching about what Atman is. What is the nature of Atman? So that teaching in the mind becomes like the mirror. Becomes like the mirror. That teaching is the mirror in which I come to recognize who I am. Not as something, not as an object, but as I am Atma, awareness, which is free from time, not limited by space, which is full, which is complete, and so on, which nature is awareness. So when I say I am awareness, I don't objectify myself, but in the clear mind, still mind, I recognize myself. I recognize myself. Now, that thought which is there in the mind, whatever that, the thought corresponds to the nature of Atman. Knowledge always corresponds. Accurate knowledge is knowledge that corresponds to that which we want to know. So, we studied the famous poem of Shankara before, Nirvana Shatakam. And then you remember the chorus, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am awareness, Chit, which is full and complete, Ananda, Shiva, Shivoham, Shivoham. That is knowledge. So in the mind, when that kind of knowledge is present in the mind, it corresponds to what I am. Right now, my mind, in the condition of ignorance, gives a distorted understanding of what I am, like a mirror that is covered in dust, or a mirror that distorts what you look like physically. But when there is a correspondence between what you are and the knowledge of yourself that is in the mind, then we speak of this as Atma Jnana, knowledge of the self. This is knowledge of the self. And that is how knowledge takes place. But this knowledge has to become a practice, because we are forgetful. We are forgetful. We practice this knowledge until it becomes natural for us to understand ourselves, to understand the truth of ourselves without forgetfulness. So we speak of the discipline of knowledge, the practice of knowledge, jnana abhyasa, so that what I am and what I know that I am, or what I think that I am, are always one and the same. There is no distortion. That is verse 3 of the Kena Upanishad. We'll come back, to many of these thoughts as we continue to study this text. I want to move now to verse 4 of the text. And please also, I just remind you that you can always use the chat for a question. I will take a look at it before I end today at 11:30. So mantra 4. Yad vacha anabhyuditam yena vag abhyudayate tadeva brahma tvam vidhi nenam yadidam upasate. Yad vacha anabhyuditam yena vag abhyudayate. So he says again, so there's a series of very beautiful verses now in the text where he sort of connects with what the first three verses of the text. So yad, vacha means speech. We've seen that before. He previously described Atma as vacho havacham, a speech of speech. And also he said, na tatra vag gacchati, and words don't go there. Twice he used the word vag or speech. So now he comes back, the teacher comes back to that point and says, yad, that, vacha, that which anabhyuditam, that which is not revealed by speech, that which is not revealed by speech, yena vag abhyudayate, but which reveals speech. That which is not known by speech, that which speech cannot make known, but that because of which speech is known. Speech is possible, speech is known. Tareva brahma tvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasati. The second line is common now to the series of verses that follow. So, in what sense can we say yad vacha anabhyuditam? It is not revealed or made known by speech. That which cannot be revealed by speech, but which reveals speech. So, as I said, a few minutes ago, words are not necessary to prove the existence of Atma. You are, I am, awareness is. It doesn't need anything to make it known. It is, as I said, it is self-revealing. I use the word swayam prakasha. Prakasha means light. Swayam means its own. It is its own light. Jyoti in Sanskrit is light. Swayam Jyoti means it is its own light. It is not revealed through any other means, including words. Including words. Right? And without it, no words are heard. The organ of air can't function without the knower in the air, without awareness in the air. You can't hear what I am saying. Without the awareness in the mind, you can't understand what I am saying. So it makes all words known, but words are not necessary to make it known because it is swayam prakasha. It is self revealing. So that's one important way in which we can understand the beginning of this fourth verse. Yad vacha anabhyuditam, that which is not revealed or made known by words, but that which makes words known. Second way in which we can understand this is this. Now you can see how we have been studying this text together, and you can see also the special way in which the guru, the teacher in this text, is using language. When the student started the discussion by asking him, what is that because of which I see? What is that because of which I hear? What is that because of which I speak and I breathe? Then he used words in a special way. He said it is chakshusha chakshu. It is the eye of the eye. It is pranasya pranaha. It is the breath of breath. Vacho havacham. It is the speech of speech. This is not ordinary use of language. We don't speak like that in everyday conversation. So when the Kena Upanishad says that Atman is not revealed by words, another way of understanding this important line in the text is this. No word in its ordinary meaning can define this Atma. Because all words, all language that we use, just think about it. All language, all symbols we use are symbols that evolved to speak of the finite world. All words that we use describe objects. Now, Atman is not an object. All words describe finite objects, and Atman is not a finite object. It is not like anything else in the universe. So no word that we have developed, even the words of the Shastras, even the word of scripture, can directly speak about Atman. Has to be used in a very special, way. So let me give you an example. And this is, we're using this word. This will help you to understand the limitations of language. And it's a very important teaching of the text. So sometimes, we're always looking for appropriate words to translate the Upanishads, to translate the Sanskrit into English or into other languages. And often we will say, as I am saying here, Atman is awareness. And some other teachers will say, Atman is consciousness. Consciousness, right? My own teacher preferred the word awareness, and that's why I use awareness more than consciousness. But most teachers, I think, would say consciousness. So if I say Atman, I use the word consciousness. The Atman is consciousness. Now, suppose you are a student and this is the first time you're learning about studying an Upanishad, participating in a class about nature of Atman, and I said Atman is consciousness, then it is very likely, because when we use the word consciousness in our ordinary usage, as it is popularly used, we think of it as a quality of the body or as a quality of the mind. We say, for example, he still has consciousness. Or we'll say, she lost consciousness. This is popular usage. Think of it, she still has consciousness, or she lost consciousness. So she has consciousness. Let's take that statement. That's common language, or she is conscious, she has consciousness. We are speaking of consciousness there. We're using consciousness almost like an adjective. So there is the person who has consciousness. Or we said, she's no longer conscious, consciousness is gone. So it becomes transient. In its normal usage, we describe consciousness as a transient quality that belongs to the body or belongs to the mind. Or it is a property, it is something that belongs or owned. Like we say, the flower is red. Whereas redness becomes a quality, an adjective of the substance, which is the flower. So the body has consciousness, right? So in this sense, consciousness becomes inappropriate as a term to talk about Atman. If you hear me using the word consciousness and you went away with the meaning, well, then it comes and goes. I have it sometimes and I don't have it sometimes. I can lose it. Like you say, I lost consciousness. Right? It means it's a subject of time. It was there before, now it is no longer there. Or, it is a property of the body. So when the body is not, it no longer exists. Then consciousness is a problem. Using that word consciousness is a problem. So if I use consciousness, then I have to use a lot of other words just to help you to understand that I'm not describing consciousness in its ordinary usage. So then I would have to say, it is not a property of the mind. It is not a property of the body, but the mind and body functions because of it. I have to say it is not an object. I have to say, it is nirgunatvam. It is not. I can't use language that suggests that it's a language in an adjectival sense, as though consciousness is a property of or belongs to something. I have to say it doesn't come and go. It doesn't change. Unless all of those things are said, I can't use the word consciousness properly to speak about nature of Atman. The same with awareness, because the challenge of the teacher in the Upanishad is to use familiar words to speak about that which is unfamiliar. To use familiar words, and you have to use familiar words, otherwise you will not communicate, to speak about that which is unique. Every word that we speak about, use for Atman, is like that. If I say Atman is happiness, then there is much more to be said to qualify what I mean. Because I'm not happy today, one might say. So what happens? Atman is present when I'm happy. What happens when I'm not happy? Atman goes. So if I use the word like happiness to describe Atman, then so much more has to be said. That word has to be qualified in so many ways. So then it becomes appropriate to be used for Atman. So in this tradition of teaching, it's a very clear understanding that no word in its ordinary sense, we have to use words, we have to use symbols to communicate. And this is where skillful teaching comes into being. There's a sampradaya, there's a lineage which has given us, as the Guru says in this Kena Upanishad also, this is how my teachers taught. They also belong to the sampradaya with a particular methodology, particular methods of teaching, particular ways of using language. There's a lot of damage that can be done when language is used loosely. So much misunderstanding is created by loose use of words. And then words don't liberate. Words don't liberate when they are not used mindfully. When words don't come out of a lineage of study and teaching. Words are very precious. They're a great gift to us. But when we are using words to speak of the divine, when we're using words to speak of the ultimate, there is the need to exercise so much care in how we use these words, because that makes all the difference. Whether there is understanding of what Atman is, or there is no understanding of what Atma is. So this is why the teacher always says, yad vacha anabhyuditam, that which is not revealed by speech, we should understand also by ordinary speech. That which is not revealed by words used in their ordinary meanings is very important. Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. And then the second line of verse 4, and this second line is repeated in this series of verses. Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. Na idam yad idam upasati. That, he says, that you should know to be Brahman. That is Brahman. Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. And then this very intriguing line. Na idam, not this. Na idam, yadidam, not this that is worshipped as this here. Not this, na idam, yad idam, not this that is worshipped as a this here. Upasati. Really, really, really fascinating. Beautiful statement here. What is added then? Let us ask this question. What is added in this verse that we have not seen before? What is added in this verse that we have not seen before? Well, for the first time, the Guru uses a word that he hasn't used before. And a lot is added in that word. Right? What does he say? Tad eva tvam, tad eva Brahma tadvidhi. That alone is the Brahman. Now he's introduced the word. That is Brahman. What is Brahman? The eye of the eye, the air of the air, the mind of the mind, the breath of breath. That is that is Brahman. Tareva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. Please know, please understand, he says, that that is Brahman. So, therefore, I'm asking, what does that add to our learning so far? So we have seen, in the second verse of Kena Upanishad, that Atma is Chakshusha Chakshuhu. It is the eye of the eye. It is Srotrasya Srotra, the air of the air. It is Pranasya Prana. It is the breath of breath. So this can mean, if we don't have what the teacher says now, this can mean, although I said it before, but the text didn't say it before. Does this mean that Atma is the eye of the eye in my eye, the air of the air in my air, the breath of breath in my breath? In other words, does this mean that everyone has an Atma? One Atma. Atma is plural, in other words. There is an eye of the eye in you, there's an eye of the eye in me, there's an eye of the eye in my son, my daughter, in my friend. In other words, is Atma plural? Are there many Atmas? One Atma in each body that enables me to see, hear, touch, smell, taste, think, and then you have an Atma, a separate Atma that enables you to hear, see, touch, taste, feel, think. And not only that, and is this Atma the same size as the body? Some traditions teach this doctrine. This is not, I'm not making this up. I mean, that's one. There are traditions that speak of Atman in this way. Atman is plural. There are many Atmans. There's one for each. There's one for each body. There are as many Atmas as there are bodies. But when the teacher says here now, and as I told you before, what we get in these Upanishads are terse summaries of extensive discussions. And that is the role of the lineage, the role of the Sampradaya, to expand, to teach, Gambhira, to expand and to teach. So when he says here, Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi, that is Brahman, the teacher makes it very clear that there are many bodies, there are many senses, there are many minds, but there is one Atma. By calling the Atma Brahman, he's saying there is one Atma, there is one awareness. In all eyes, there is one. In all airs, there is one. In all breaths, there is one. Bhagavad Gita uses a very nice, beautiful analogy. I'm sure many of you will remember. And it's of course, each line is 2 verses in the traditional meter. But in this verse, we have the beautiful sentence, Sutre Manigana Iva. Like a string in a necklace of jewels. Like a string, Sutre. Money is like a necklace of jewels. Manigana Iva, like. So an example, Sutre Manigana Iva. Like a string threading a necklace of jewels. So, the thread is present in each jewel, but it is also present between each jewel. It doesn't stop with each jewel. It is present in the jewel and is present outside of the jewel. In the neck, in the jewel, in the gem, and between the 2 gems, it is, and in the next gem. So in a similar way, Atman is present. The one Atma is present in each mind, in each eye, in each air, in each sense of smell, sense of touch, and between between your body and my body, it also is. And this is why we say, it is not limited by space. So wherever living beings are, there is Atma. And wherever living beings are, Atman is present as awareness or consciousness, now that we understand the word. So wherever living beings are, it is manifest, it is present as consciousness. Where living beings are not, between two living beings, where space is or anything else is, it is present, but present as existence. It is not manifest as consciousness. It is present, but present as existence, as Sat. We say Satchitananda as one as. So where living beings are, it is present as awareness, consciousness. Where living beings are not, it is not that it's not present. It is present, but as Sat, as existence. It needs a living being to be expressed for its manifestation as consciousness. Otherwise, it is present in everything as Sat, as existence. So this is the first time in the Kena Upanishad that the word Brahman is used. Tareva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. That because of which you see is that because of which everyone sees. The word Brahma in Sanskrit comes from the root, br. The verbal root br. And Brahman means to grow, big. But then we have Brahman, which means the biggest, which means infinite, Ananta. Brahman means that which has no limits, not limited by time, it always is, not limited by space, it's everywhere and everything is in it. It's not an object in space, it is not an object in time. It is not sometimes you think, this is the world, there are many objects in the world and Brahman is one object also in this world. It is not like that. As we will see later on. If you remember, again, our earlier discussion of the Nirvana Shatakam, I spent some time discussing the example of clay and clay pots. Brahman is not a object, it is the nature of all objects. It is Sat, that which constitutes the nature of all objects. So, therefore, we'll stop here, but note also the teacher says, na nedam yadidam upasati. So he's anticipating in that conclusion that I'll discuss next week. Remember, normally we have classes every other week, but in this case, I will continue teaching next week because of other engagements. So he's anticipating in this line an important concern that the teacher has. So Guruji, you are saying that Atma, this Brahman, is not an object. It is not an object because if it's an object, it will be limited. It will exist in space and it will exist in time. But what about all the sacred objects that we worship? Are these also? How should I think about them? So this is why he says, Tar eva Brahma Tvam Vidhi. Know that this alone is the infinite. Na idam yadidam upasate. Not even that which is worshipped here in space and time as a sacred object. So now we have to spend some time. I know that needs some unpacking. What about the icons, the murtis in our temples? How should we think about them in relation to the infinite Brahman? Because the Guru is saying, that alone is Brahman, not that which is worshipped here as an object. So how do we make sense of what happens in ritual and what happens in this text as the Guru speaks about Brahman? I will stop here. So keep well and stay safe, and please join me in our concluding prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam, and we will continue next week Sunday at the same time. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.